Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see all those smiling faces on a lovely Tuesday. So we're just going to give it another minute, let some more people come in, and then we will get started. But I hope everybody's having a great day so far. Well, hi, everybody. I am Allison Muccio with the Boca Chamber, and welcome to Virtual Smart Talk for Women with Nancy Proffitt. We are always happy to have you here, and we're especially happy always to have Nancy. So I am going to go ahead and just read a few words about her. These are a few words, and don't look at her face because she makes funny faces. So Nancy is passionate. She's a coach. She uses intention. She's enthusiastic. She's a leader, performance-based, focused, and strategic. And those are just a few of the words that describe Nancy. So for over 2 decades, she has been helping organizations develop high-impact leaders, promote employee enthusiasm, improve corporate culture, and drive best practice results. And for over 10 years, we just established that, Nancy has been doing Smart Talk for Women. So not only are we lucky at the Chamber, but you are all very lucky to have her expertise and knowledge. And without further ado, Nancy Proffitt.
Good afternoon, everybody. I love, thank you, Ross. Thank you, my cheerleading committee over there. It's great to see everybody again. I'm glad that everybody is doing well and healthy and able to join the call. It's always fun to see new faces as well as some regulars. I don't want to say old faces because there's nobody on this call that's an old face, that's for sure. And so for those that are new, let me just a couple of things. One is, what is Smart Talk for Women? What's different about Smart Talk for Women than other programs that the Chamber has? And when it was first devised, long before I was involved, Smart Talk for Women was a program that was facilitated by someone else with the sole purpose of having an open forum discussion on ideas that help us run our business. And I used to say this, and I'll just remind everybody because I haven't done it in a long time. Here are a couple of things that it is not. Smart Talk for Women is an open forum discussion to help each other with tidbits of how to work our business more effectively. What it is not a self-help group. It is not, hey, what do I do? How do I balance my life with this or that? That's not what we do here. We've got specialists within the Chamber that take care of that. What it is not is an opportunity to sell your product or your idea. That's not what this is about. That's why you go to Leads Group, to open up opportunities, to build relationships, to sit down and talk about what it is you do for a living. So it's not a sales opportunity here on the screen by any means. And it is not an opportunity to judge others for whatever they do, because I happen to think that every single human being in this world brings value. How you choose to bring that value is your personal brand. And your personal brand is understanding what other people on this call are here to do. And so it's just kind of a reminder that this is an opportunity for us to be measured, if you will, somewhat in our discussion so that it's formed toward the topic of the day. It is an opportunity for us to share ideas. And most importantly, as a facilitator, my role is to help give everyone an opportunity for discussion. So as we go through the calls, for those that are new to the calls, just so you know, sometimes I hear from people after the call that says, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get a chance, and so-and-so spoke longer than somebody else, and hey, I didn't. So I take those things into consideration. So if in fact we're having a conversation, if I respectfully say, okay, thanks, and let's move on, does anybody else have an idea? It is because I'm doing that respectfully to give everyone an opportunity to have an idea and a discussion. So that's the platform of Smart Talk for Women, as opposed to a workshop format. which the chamber does on many varied topics over the course of a month. People in the chamber and outside the chamber, they bring in speakers to do workshops. That's not what this is. And so a couple of people asked me after the last Smart Talk for Women, tell me again what it is we're doing with Smart Talk for Women. So if anybody has any questions or didn't understand what the format was, that's it. Everybody cool? Any questions? That being said, buckle up, because here we go. Here's what I'd like you to do first. I'd like you to raise your hand if you have, you way to go, Yvonne. You're my first, I love that. Okay, I raised my hand. Simon says, well done. Let me put the caveat on there for you, Yvonne. Raise your hand if you have written sales goals. Well done. Raise your hand if you have written marketing goals. Whoa, howdy. Raise your hand if you have a full strategic plan for your business this year as a solopreneur or as an entrepreneur. Karen, well done. Well done. Susan, well done. Because here's the deal. I asked in that order because that's out of order. Wasn't that brilliant, Roz? I see you shaking your head. You said, yeah, I do that. I asked you that for a reason. Because it's like planning a vacation. If you have no idea what you'd like to go on, the reason you want to go on vacation, and what that vacation is going to look like, then it's kind of hard to drive to the end of the driveway in your car and go, okay, do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I go to the airport, or do I go to a cruise ship? Do I go to a park, or do I go to a spa? And so that's why it's first important to say, what is it that I want my business to look like, and what's the strategy behind that? How will I do it? And as you work through some key big objectives for where you want and how you want your company, your business, your company, your department, what you want that to look like over the next 6 to 12 months, the next thing that we have to look at is, okay, well, what would marketing look like in order to provide that vision? What would sales need to look like in order for me to be successful? Because what's the purpose of sales? Anybody want to shout out? What's the purpose of sales? Oh, come on. Somebody's got to have an idea. You do it every day. Go ahead, Patricia.
To inform and educate. To inform and educate.
Okay, so that's the purpose of your sales, to inform and educate. Okay, cool. Excellent.
Sales make a profit. That's where the profit is.
Yep. That's it. At the end of the day, if we don't have the right sales and we don't have the right plan to align with that sales plan, we may be selling a lot of widgets and making no money. It's like riding your bicycle on a stationary bike and going nowhere. But boy, oh boy, sure enjoying the journey, right? Not. You're going on a journey for a reason. You're riding the bike for a reason. You're running a 5K for a reason.
Well, with
this, go ahead, Karen.
Nancy, with the sale, you also want to get satisfy the customer's needs and wants, and make a lifelong client out of them, or referral base.
Absolutely right. It becomes that relationship, doesn't it? It's a lifelong.
Working on that.
And the only way to do that is it's like being married. I hate to tell you, you can get married, but at the end of the day, if you don't like each other or they're not satisfied, I don't care what you bring to the table. So you've got to figure out, first of all, who do you want to marry? First, it's no different than finding a customer, because here's the end game in sales. Everybody that fogs a mirror is not a customer. Yet we just go out there and we just start trying to sell something, which usually turns everybody off. Because the last time I walked into a car dealership and bought my new Outback just the day before the country shut down in March of last year, when I walked in there, the first guy that I met walked up and he said, "Hi, hon, what are you looking for?" Nothing. And I walked out. because he was a salesman. He thought building a relationship was going to hun me. And any of you on this Zoom call that know me, hun's about the last word you'd ever want to use with Nancy Proffitt. It ain't taking you nowhere. Then I go into the next place and they said, hey, nice to see you in here. What brings you into the Subaru dealer? He never once told me about a Subaru. He never once told me about the engine size. He never once told me about the best model for me. He never once sold me anything. Yet he had a sales plan. He had a sales plan. And part of his plan was he was brilliant enough or well-trained enough that he didn't have to tell me one iota thing about his Subarus until I asked. And so as we talk about a sales plan today, there is an alignment between your marketing plan and a sales plan. So I want to ask you all that raised your hand that said, yes, I have a sales plan. What things are involved? What components are involved in your sales plan? Because every department, I don't care if you're selling widgets or if you're selling ideas or you're creating a marketing strategy as part of your business, whatever that looks like, you're selling people on ideas and getting them to make a decision. So who else? There were a couple people that raised their hand that had a sales plan. Who had a written sales plan? Roz, you were one of them with your hand up. No? Okay. Who else? Somebody. Karen, were you up? Hit me,
Yeah, I
Karen.
said I had a sales plan. My sales plan involves, because I'm a realtor, involves me getting more involved in social media.
Okay.
And also in keeping in touch with my past clients. That's primarily the, and promoting my website, all of those other things, Instagram, et cetera. That's primarily my sales plan. And that's primarily a typical, though I don't like to consider myself typical realtor sales plan. You have to do that in order to put yourself out there so people can find you, so you can sell them houses.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Who else has any ideas for a sales plan? And I want you to think about a sales plan versus a marketing plan, because they are very different. What's different about a sales plan and a marketing plan? Patricia.
Well, it's an outreach, right? It's lead generation.
Which one is lead generation?
Sales plan.
Yep. That at the end of the day, you want to market yourself in a way that leads start coming in. They generate leads in which you can then ask people enough questions without telling them what you do. Ask them enough questions that they want to and build a relationship, as Karen talked about. They want a date. Let me ask you, how many people here have a revenue goal for this year? Patricia, Helena, Karen, Susan, who else? Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. I can't see Nicole, Karen, and Andrea because you don't have video. So I'm sorry if you had wanted to say something. At least put your hand up on the Zoom screen for reactions. Cheryl, okay. You guys have a revenue goal. How many of you had a revenue goal last year? Okay. How many of you hit last year's revenue goal? How many of you hit last year's revenue goal? Okay. When you,
I was just gonna say, last year was a toughie.
and that's the reason I asked that. Of all the obstacles that could get in the way of a sales plan, I want us to walk away today understanding that a sales plan is just that. It's a plan. The same way you plan to go on vacation. I planned to go to Ireland with my friends. About 2 months before our first Ireland trip, one of our friends broke her leg. Well, that kind of diverted the plans. Took another trip with someone on a cruise. And on the cruise ship, we had planned to go to all these islands and do all these things. On the cruise ship, what happened? Interestingly enough, one of my friends fell and broke her leg and had to be hauled off the cruise ship and dropped off in another country and have her leg put back together. So while we have plans, that doesn't mean that it's just nothing can go awry. I'd ask you, the reason I ask you revenue goals, what are you planning for? If you were to have lead generation, if you were to create new partnerships, you were to create opportunities, whatever that looks like, what for? How do you know you're succeeding in your sales plan? How do you know? How do you know you're successful with a sales plan? Yeah, Alina.
So I have a semi plan. I've been really bad, and I kind of been going backwards, like you said. I have the sales lined up. I have the marketing strategy, but the plan, the more objective plan, I'm still working on, which should have probably been the first one. But I think for me, I'm being more revenue driven. So it's really about projections. I'm really saying I'm going this month. I plan to get 3 stores. Next month I plan to go, and the strategy is to go to hotels. So I'm really doing it based almost on doors open.
Very good.
So that I can get to that revenue based on an average, let's say. So that's
Yep.
kind of my strategy or my plan.
I think your strategy is spot on, because what you're creating is a sales funnel.
Right.
We've all talked about a sales funnel. We've read about it. We're in business. We've heard about, we got to go out and find clients. We've got to do this. In order to do it, we've got to go out and do things, whether it be, however you market yourself, through social media, through going out and networking events at the chamber, through doing speaking engagements, whatever that looks like. That's part of your way to fill that sales funnel to generate revenue, because there's no reason to be in business if you're not generating revenue or results. There's no reason. I mean, as much as I love what I do, and I do love what I do, you guys know I'm passionate about it. At the end of the day, I would like to earn a living. And you set a lifestyle you want, and you go after it. And that decides who's going to go in that sales funnel. That decides that target market. So what I'd like you all to do right away, I want you to take out a pen and a piece of paper. I want you to write down the revenue you want, and whether it be junior achievement, what's the revenue, however you measure revenue, Debbie, whatever that looks like. Susan, however you measure your revenue, whatever that looks like. Sometimes it's in dollars, sometimes it's in fund development, sometimes it's Pat O'Mara, you have a different way of measuring that revenue, but it's still a dollar amount, because dollars have to come through, correct? Yeah. Everybody write down your number. Write down your number. It's the new year. We've got vaccines going galore. Just about anybody that fogs a mirror that wants to, in one way or another, can get a vaccine if you want it. They're not hard to get anymore. Appointments aren't hard to get. Business is coming back. You have your number written? All right, Yvonne, share with us one thing. I love those fish behind you, by the way, Yvonne. Those fish are awesome. Yvonne, share one thing with us. Give us the name of your company, and then share one thing you think you could do to hit that revenue, that number you wrote down.
The name of can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. The name of my company is Why Heaven Health Insurance. I am a broker for, private health insurance. So I just help people navigate the world of health insurance, which is crazy.
Okay.
So that's what I do for people.
Okay. That being said, what's one thing you think you could do to hit your revenue goal in the health insurance world?
I think, I'm out here marketing to people. I'm going to the events. I'm doing a lot of networking, and then also doing great customer service for people, for referrals.
Okay. Excellent. I think you hit it really on the head, but you're out there and seeing, that's marketing. But the fact is, you're providing such customer service, and you've got a plan for the customer service, or a methodology for how you're going to deliver what it is you offer in a way that generates referrals, which again, generates sales. And so part of our sales plan should be something with referrals, because how many people have a customer? How many people have at least one customer? If I don't see all hands up, I'm going to choke.
Hey.
All of us have a customer. They may be internal customers or external. That being said, if we can get people to give us more of those, or if what we do generates more interest in our organization. And I say this, Susan Stallone, how are you? Susan Stallone, unmute. Tell us what you do real quickly, your company, your business, what you do, and how is it that you generate, what does revenue look like for you? I happen to know this, so I'm asking you because I don't want people to get confused.
Okay, so I'm Susan Stallone. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director of Temple Bethel in Boca Raton. So we are a nonprofit, but we still need money, even though it's nonprofit, we still have a P&L. So we generate money in revenue in many different ways, through membership, through donations, through tuition for our schools, and believe it or not, through the Bethel Mausoleum, which is one of those necessary things in life.
Yeah.
And so we usually plan a year at a time in terms of what our marketing plan is and what our goals are for that marketing plan. And I'm also listening to this from my husband is an entrepreneur too. He owns his own business. He's a consultant. And I'm also listening to this with that and with his business in mind too, which I'm involved with.
Excellent. And the reason I did ask Susan to offer that up is as a nonprofit, if you will, you still have an obligation to bring in funds because we still have to turn the lights on. So whether you're selling a widget or whether you're selling a service, you still have to have those goals to get there. What other things might you, yeah, Debbie, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Debbie Hammer. I work for Junior Achievement of South Florida, and we're also a nonprofit. I certainly understand, Susan, how things are a little bit different when you come from that donor intent perspective. But at Junior Achievement, I have, as a director of development, what we call my daily marching orders. These are 5 different categories of things that I need to do every single day before anything else. All right, I have to research prospects. I have to, and I record how many researched industries. Then I have to, I have certain outreach I have to do with follow up to prospects, etc. And I also have to a certain number of new contacts I have to reach out to. We consider them friends, new friends. Number of virtual cups of coffee that I have to have. Referrals, new introductions, follow up with prospects, follow up with current clients. So these are categories of things. I have to put 5 of those in each box every day, and in order to build the pipeline and help us find friends for the organization.
Congratulations. Well said. You just described 5 components of a sales plan. That's a sales plan. Notice you have to figure out in a sales plan what your revenue is, right? You got to know what a number is. The second thing we need to do is know what is our target market. Has our target market shifted at all? Do we know what it is we even sell? Do we have a message for what we do that, wait for it, this may be a shock to some on the call. How does what you do benefit someone else from their point of view, not your point of view? Because that's the difference in getting me to buy versus trying to sell me something. So here you are out with a target market. You're going back to current clients or former people to say, hey, let us remind you of Junior Achievement, what our mission is. And that's really important. As part of your sales plan is to know what's your revenue, what's your target market, but what is it, what purpose do you serve as to why you're in business? And then comes all the other marketing things of how you do it, whether it be networking, social media, do workshops, those kind of things. Debbie, you just gave us 5 things. If anybody needs to know Debbie's 5 things, please reach out to her. Debbie, did you put your contact information in the chat room yet?
I'll go ahead and do that right now.
Because you really nailed it on the head. These are 5 things you're doing every day to generate sales, all of which have something to do with building relationships. It's like dating. When you date and have that first date at dinner, if you're talking more about you than asking about them, the chances are it'll be your last date for dinner. And nobody wants that. So thinking of the sales plan, what other things, how many, there were other people that had sales plan ideas. What other ideas do you have that, what are some things you think would work, especially in these changing times where we're part virtual doing sales, we're part in person doing sales. Notice I'm not saying just marketing, I'm asking about sales. Susan, yeah, please.
Yeah, hi, so I'm Susan Commander Samago. I'm a ICF certified coach, dealing with the business side and the personal. I'm basically repeating, because I'm just down here, I'm fairly new, but I'm repeating what I did up in the DC area, which is, and the market that we're in now is very similar to what it was in 2008 when everything caved in. So the foundation of what I do is mindset, resilience, and transition. And so no matter what you're going through, and for me, everything goes back to mindset and resilience, because what you think is what happens out there. And I built a business basically all on word of mouth. It's all what you just said. It's so much is relationship. Being fairly new, I chose a few different places to join in to network. And I love the chamber. And I like a variety, and I've been doing, Zooms for years, but the mixture of whether it was in person, Zoom, workshops, individual coaching, team group, I'm basically repeating that down here and succeeding at it with basically offering value to people. And that to me is key. And also listening for other people's values, because that's what's going to drive our decisions and our judgments. And listening to that, you can then, it gives you so much information, and then you could support the person as they're going through whatever goals they want to reach.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. That is really defining what it is for any relationship. And in a sales, one of the things, once you build the relationship, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first started my business, and I'm telling you, I've made so many that I should write a book. However, I'm fortunate that I think I've learned something from it. One of the things I did, I was making appointments with people left and right. I was having coffee here, lunch there, breakfast here, wine there. I was freaking spending a fortune. And I, at no time, as people, we asked questions, we built the relationship, we dated. The one key thing I forgot to do that would put money in my pocket. Anybody want to guess what that might be? Yes, Maureen. I know you're going to tell me, because you're the one, your group coached me on how not to do this anymore.
So you probably didn't ask for the sale, right?
Bam! I knew Maureen would know this, because I was fortunate enough to go through the right management process. It was a blessing when I finally figured out and I got the opportunity. I had the opportunity. You have to ask for the sale. At some point, you can muddle around all you want, but at some point you have to ask, do you want to go out again? At some point you have to ask, would you like to buy what I have? How would what I have benefit you? You've got to get them to tell you, not you tell them, because you telling them is a strong-armed sales ploy. Nobody likes that, like that Subaru salesman, Mr. Hi Hun. Eeks. Think about it. You're at some point, if you've got that revenue number, when is it during the dating process, whether you call it marketing, whether you're doing Zoom meetings, whether you're doing articles, whether you're joining events at the chamber, you're going to all, and thank God the Boca Chamber offers a multitude of opportunities. the end of the day, you still have to ask somebody to open their wallet. How do you determine if somebody is really somebody that will buy? How do you decide in getting to your revenue goal and you're filling the funnel, as Debbie talked about? How do you determine whether somebody is a buyer?
You have to ask them the right set of questions for their hot.
And what are some of the questions? What's one question, Karen? And then I'll ask some other people. What's one question you would ask that you ask to determine if they're a buyer?
Are you or anyone else that you know thinking of buying or selling a home in the next, say, 2 months?
Okay. Thank you. Well done. Because what you just established is, bam, they have a need. That's the first thing we need to know. Do they have a need? What's something else? There's 3 key things in whether you're going to sell, and they should be part of your sales plan.
Can they make the decision?
Yes.
Yeah,
Are they the right person?
right.
There's no doubt about it. Oftentimes we get in front of people and they're not the decision maker. They don't they think they have a need, but they're not the one that can tell you yes or no or fly a kite. What's then the third thing that we need to know? They have to have a need. They have to be a decision maker. What's the third thing?
They have to have the money.
You know, it doesn't matter. If I don't have the money, I can have a want and a need. I can have the ability to make the decision. But if I don't have the dollars, and so as part of our sales plan, that's why, yeah, Patricia.
Can I just just throw in another thing? They may have the money, but they need to be willing and able,
Yeah,
to want to invest, right? So with me, because I'm a personal coach, the client has to be willing and able to make the investment in their growth.
Yep.
They could have a pocketbook full of money, but they are not at a point where they're ready to do it.
Yep.
So that's a really important thing.
I think that really is so, thank you for bringing that up, because that really does drive how do they, not us, wait for it, not us, how do they determine if they have that need? Because once they determine they have the need, then they'll make the decision. But our job is to help them peel their onion enough so that, again, we're not selling them anything.
So that they sell themselves, basically.
Raj, you're right. You're right, because that's why I bought the Subaru. I know I bought a Subaru. I sort of knew the color. This guy was showing me cars I never even wanted to look at. Yeah, Cheryl.
The word benefit is missing.
Yep.
The reason you bought the Subaru or didn't buy the Subaru, it has to have a benefit, whether they choose Patricia to be the coach or not the coach, or whatever we're all doing, they have to see the benefit. Money, sales, all the words you can use. There has to be a benefit for them, not you.
Yep. And, thank you for pointing that out, Cheryl, because it can be an emotional benefit. It can be a physical benefit. It can be a tangible, hands-on benefit, but you're absolutely right. Until it satisfies that, back to Patricia, where you were coming around to them figuring out their need ties right to what's the benefit, which is exactly why people justify buying a car they don't really need. That's exactly because they've convinced themselves that the benefit would be whatever, because the same 4 tires, the same car with an engine, the same car, any color is going to get them where they need to go. But they're going to go out and spend $35,000 on a car because they're right here going to figure out there's some kind of a benefit. And that benefit may just be a simple satisfaction. I want something new and shiny, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not trying to convince them of what the benefit is. Because when you're convincing them what the benefit is, unless they have a question about why would this be a benefit, or how could it be a benefit, or how does the process work, then it's hard to go from trying to convince people or trying to get people to make a decision versus being a hard sales person. And I don't think there's that. Raise your hand if you just love a hard sale. Love a hard sale. What's wrong with you guys? Somebody, and I shared with you, and if I haven't, I'll share it again. I went on a lunch at Seasons 52 with someone from Smart Talk for Women many years ago. and we sat down to have an introductory, who are you, what's going on conversation. Within 30 seconds of sitting down, they showed up with a portfolio, smacked it on the table, opened it up, and started to pull out things of what they do. What would you do?
They put it away.
Yeah, ask them to put it away, because they
No.
came in not wanting to build a relationship. They came in trying to sell me something. Until I get up and said, excuse me, I have to go to the ladies' room. I went to the ladies' room with my purse. I didn't run out. Trust me, I'm not that bad. I'm not that disrespectful. But I did come back and said, you know, I just I had a call and I'm going to have to cut our lunch short. I'm so sorry. Maybe we can do this another time. And I left. Because I'm not going to sit there and listen to a freaking sales pitch, because that's not part of a sales plan. A sales plan is knowing what's your target? What's your goal? What's your target market to get there? What is it you're doing to get there? What does your ideal customer look like that fits into your sales plan? Because then you create a marketing plan to support it. Yes, Pat.
I just wanted to share that I read an article about Subaru, and truly they have found that the benefit to them has been the commercials with the dogs driving the cars. That has nothing to do with the car.
Isn't that funny? That emotional piece? Because one of the things I ask for is, where's my dog? When I bought the car, okay, where's my dog? You're absolutely right. We relate to that marketing that touches our emotions and the safety of driving with the dog. So that's the benefit to them, no doubt.
They should give a stuffed animal dog with a purchase.
They should. They should. How do you decide on a target client? How have you determined your target customer? If you've got a sales goal and you know what you're offering people, how do you decide what, as part of your sales plan, what do you do to determine a target ideal customer? Helena, yes.
Well, I think it goes back to that, the needs and wants. We have to understand what their needs and their wants are. I mean, because look at Apple, they're a great example. It's not really filling a need, it's almost filling a want. Like we want that before we even know it's out, because they built this strong emotional status, relationship with their clients, with their customers. So understanding their needs and their wants, and when I say wants is sometimes they don't know what they want until we tell them what we have. And then we develop that want, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt. That's such a good point, is that understanding our target market has to be those that have a need for whatever it is we have. And until we don't know that, until we ask them enough questions without ever telling them what we do. Interesting. Interesting. Yes, Susan.
Well, and it's also understanding the demographics and the psychographics of your audience so that you can target them through media, not just at like big events or one-on-one, because you want to be able to reach people in a more efficient way. And that's how media and social media works.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Back in the old days, some of you aren't old enough to remember this, they had the yellow pages. And it was like, they sold you all kinds of ads in the yellow pages. And I really want to know from anybody, did you ever buy anything because somebody had an ad in the yellow pages?
Yes, I will attest to that because I was a Verizon Yellow Page representative.
Oh, wow.
So I did talk to several of my customers, and they did at that time. At that time, now this was the time when they were just coming out with the webinar, with the websites. So I was also just introducing websites to them. But most of these customers sold the big yellow book. I also sold these little yellow books.
Yeah, remember?
And, right, the little yellow book. And a lot of them would not go in if it didn't work for them. The spine of the book, the front page, the back page, the map, everything.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
But you got the right one on the call.
I love the fact that, Karen, you were able to transition so smoothly from that paper and binder day into technology of websites, webinars and different types of marketing for that. If you had to
Yes.
look at a yellow page or a book full of names of lawyers, how do you know what lawyer to pick?
The one with the ad.
Well, at
Way
least
back
they have
when.
an
That
ad,
tells
so
you
they have
about
their
himself.
name in it.
When I
At some
started
point-
33 years ago, the bigger the ad, you know, it worked.
Hey,
right?
Roz.
That's
Good,
right.
good, Roz. Thank you, Roz.
Well, we now have to recreate that without a yellow page.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
so that's part of our sales process
Mhm.
is building a marketing plan to really support that sales process. Tell me this, what's different in the way you do sales today in COVID and the way you did sales pre-COVID? Anybody? Yes.
More Zoom calls.
Sorry. Yep. We'll go to Patricia, then to Roz.
Well, virtual, right? Virtual coffees, virtual networking in groups, you know, all online.
So do you
Is that
find
what
it,
you're asking?
do you find it easier or harder to do sales? Sales, ask for the sale, ask for them.
You know
to-
what? Okay, so my line of work, that process has always been done on Zoom. So for me, that hasn't changed.
Yep.
Right? My consultations are always on Zoom. So I see them and I'm speaking with them and I make the offer that way.
Yep. Isn't that interesting? You're comfortable with this platform because you've lived it for a very, very long time. Interesting.
Yeah, and social media too, like making offers on social media and making offers through social media.
Mhm.
That's a little more natural for me because that's where I've been playing.
Sure. Makes sense. Yes. Susan.
Now I was
Then
going
I'll
to
come to Roz.
say that also because the silver lining for a lot of us that have been doing this for a while on, you know, video, etc., is that now other people can see that it works really well and is very effective.
Yep. You bet. In the new world. Thank you for sharing that. Roz, you were going to say something?
No, I was just saying that we're all Zooming so much now, and I was not used to that before, so I've gotten more used to it and certainly appreciate the time saving of driving here or there. But I do miss the one-on-one. I always feel that's my go-to thing I enjoy most too. But, you know, one-on-one Zoom, second best, I guess.
Yep, you bet. And I think Karen Isaacs, thank you for chatting and putting in, I think if anybody is looking at the chat, I think really, Karen, you're absolutely right. In the world of business, we have to constantly reinvent ourselves. We have to constantly reinvent a sales methodology that fits the times and it fits our target market. Like you hear me harping on target market because again, everybody that fogs a mirror is not a prospect. There's certainly, you know, there's everybody that would want, but they don't, doesn't mean they have a need, the ability to make a decision, have the money or really have a need. So anytime, whatever's happening, whether it's a virtual world or not, thank you, Karen, for reminding us, we constantly have to reinvent ourselves because otherwise we'd still be honestly riding around in a horse and buggy with a whip on it instead of driving around in Henry Ford's automobile that he invented back in the early 1900s. We'd be so stuck if we didn't reinvent the way we wanted to do things. I think we also have to look at, as part of our sales plan, is looking at social media, those things. What role does the generational sales play in your business? The generational sales play in your business and your sales plan? Yes, Susan, and then we'll go to Pat.
Well, I know that the younger people in their 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, they do not want the one-on-one face-to-face interaction. They are very happy to do things online. They want full transparency, get all the information on your website, and are very, very happy to do things using technology and not sort of wasting their time with the interpersonal aspect.
Very interesting. You're right. That is a new way. Does that mean it's a wrong way? No, but better know your clients because, you know, as the old statistic says, 75% of your clients are going to be millennials and Gen Zs within the next 5 to 6 years. So you know, it just grates on my nerves. It kind of makes me angry when people say, oh, those millennials. Well, they're your customers. So you better figure out how you're going to sell to them, because 75% of business is going to be done with those two generations. And if you think there's something wrong with them, go look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what's wrong with that thinking? Because they're the ones generating your revenue. Interesting. What other ways have you shifted or has changed in doing sales virtually versus doing sales in person? How many will continue after we're able to go back out in a few months and the one-on-one? How many will continue to do sales online? Raise your hand just to see. Excellent. Because it's the new world. As Susan just said, people want to, they'll let you know. And they're going to do it virtually. And you don't have to go. I'm like many of you, a lot of my clients are nowhere around here. So I don't have a choice. I'm not going to meet somebody in Toledo for coffee. It isn't going to work. One, I'm not going to Toledo, but no, I'm only kidding. Patricia.
Can I share something that I just recently heard and I thought it was so fascinating, because we talk about the millennials and them having buying power. And I just actually know someone who just started a business recently, and her statistics that she was sharing was that one of the most overlooked categories of buyers are women in their 50s, that they have the most, like one of the highest discretionary incomes, that it was in the trillions. And it's one of these groups that are overlooked, and all of the marketers are looking to market to the millennials who can't even afford to buy a house, yet this group of women that are in their 50s have the income to spend, yet marketers don't market to them.
Interesting.
So fascinating, right? I was blown away, and I'm in that category, and I was just like, it was really great to see that, right?
Yep. They figured out a target market. They've specialized their products and services toward that target market if they're going to be successful, because those are the people with a want and a need, ability to make a decision, and they have the money. Very interesting, Patricia. Interesting. I know somebody else had their hand raised and I missed it. I'm sorry. Yes, Helena? And
I just wanted to make a comment on especially for the real estate business. I think virtual business is definitely here to stay. I'm not a millennium. I wish I was, but I did buy my house virtually. I moved about a year ago, well, over a year ago from Massachusetts, and the house I'm in, I saw it through FaceTime because they didn't have a video. I wish they had like a walkthrough video. Those were great. I was looking at houses that had those videos because I didn't want to waste time. I was on a mission, and being able to see houses FaceTime, and we said, yep. Decision made. We came down to see the house physically the day we were going to close on it. So
I have clients like that. Yes, I
it's
do.
huge. And it's not just millennials. I think it's even older people, they have their children, and so many people are moving down here. I think you shouldn't just concentrate on this area. You should be reaching out to, New York, as Massachusetts, and partnering with somebody there to get leads over here and do it virtually. It works.
Great point, because the world has shifted to virtual, knowing how to utilize virtual world to sell, not convince people and beat them over the head to buy something from you, but to really honestly help them satisfy a need and a want. It can be challenging if it's not comfortable to you, but it certainly can open a world of opportunities. And as part of a sales plan, begin to think about that. And again, I want us to think about not just marketing, but what are the territories, the areas, just as you're saying, Helena, maybe you partner with somebody in Muck, New Guinea, someplace that can be a strategic partner for you in developing and selling in your business. Figure what key accounts you want. What are the strategies that you have for key accounts, and what continuous to me for sales and part of a sales plan? Each of us, how many of us, by raise of hand, have taken a formal sales training development course. Yeah. Isn't it interesting? 3 or 4 out of a group on the phone. And yet we're out there trying to generate business. Yet we think we do it and we stub our toes and we fall through the cracks. And yet, so I think part of a sales plan is something that I urge clients to do all the time is not only know what it is you want to sell and why and what purpose is there for it, but part of that is where are you going to target? What's your targeting territory strategy? What's your target market? And then what are what key accounts are you going to go after? And what are the strategies? What are the plans? What are the follow-ups? Because, you know, interesting, it takes, I've taken a number of sales courses. And one of the things I've learned repeatedly is it takes 7 touches, a minimum of 7 touches to convince somebody to make a decision to buy. 7 touches. Yet we all go out to lunch with somebody and we think, if I tell them how great my product is, surely they'll buy. In other words, we show up and throw up. And then they walk out and they say, whew, man, am I glad that's over. Yet it takes, how do we touch them 7 times? Roz, go ahead.
Just that follow-up is such a big deal.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
that, what do they say? The fortune is in the follow-up, right?
You betcha. And here's another startling statistic. 68% of people said they stopped doing business with a company because they failed to follow up. 68% of people will stop doing business with you because you failed to follow up. And so that's why I really applaud. I forget who it was who mentioned it earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't have it in my notes, who mentioned that a key part of their sales plan, is to go out and actually look for new customers, but do that follow up with the current customers that you have. Without that, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so as we do wrap up, you know, Cheryl, I would like to ask you, could you share maybe 2 tips for us as we've got about 3 minutes, 4 minutes left. What are 2 tips you can offer us in regards to how to best sell on Zoom?
Well, I have a list of at least 10. So
we're looking for 2.
Okay, just 2. First of all, when you're selling on Zoom, and we've talked a lot about this younger generation and them wanting perfection and how they're even listening to you, whether it's social media or not. I want you to deal with, first tip, your makeup, your jewelry, and your color of your clothing. When you're doing that, everything needs to be more neutral. In your background, that's another tip. That's a quick 2 on your background. Get rid of the windows behind you, ladies. It's just reflecting behind you. I can't see your faces, you're shadowed. And someone who is 20, 30, 40, 50, they see it and it's less appealing. So if you're trying to get a point across, the way you present yourself on Zoom, since we're all using it, whether it's FaceTime, Zoom, or whatever, get yourself together on this.
Very
That's quick 2.
Well done. Well said. Thank you very much for offering 2 tips. Come looking like you're a professional. In all honesty, would you meet somebody face to face for a cup of coffee with a wrinkled blouse and flip-flops? Probably not. Now, you're not seeing me below the waist, but I promise you, you can, because I've got slacks on. I've got a jacket. Yeah. That's because that's what we need to do as we're professionals. So thank you for that tip. And think about what will you do differently? What will you do differently on a Zoom call that we've kind of taken for granted in sales? What will you do in a virtual world? And if you need, reach out to some people. Susan and let's see, Susan and Patricia have pointed out that they've been doing Zoom selling, virtual business, even the business of their business, as have I, for years. So reach out to them and ask them. Their contact information is under the participant screen. I'm going to also share with you a link that I found. Hold on one second. A link that I found that has a great idea of how to put together a business plan that includes a sales plan. And it was an article that I read that I thought was really powerful. And it's that one woman shop. If you haven't looked at her website, she's got great articles, great ideas. But that is the article was written back in 2016, but that solopreneur business plan, really key tips, how to create that sales plan in conjunction with the marketing plan. But you first have to start with, what is it I want to do? What are the key goals I'm striving for? And then build your sales plan around that. Fair enough? I see we're running out of time. I would like to thank everybody for joining us today and really think about what you're going to do differently as we transition into a different new world. How will you be able to use the virtual world, in-person world effectively? But nothing happens without a plan. A business plan, marketing plan, and a sales plan to align to support the business plan you want. Think about it. You're all that in a bag of chips. How do you get people to know about you? How do you get them convinced that you're all that in a bag of chips? Because you make it about them. It's just like dating. I'm telling you, sales is dating. And so think back for when you used to date. Just don't take clients or don't take business for granted. Everything takes a little work. And that wraps it up for today. Allison, it's over to you.
Thanks, Nancy. That was great. Some wonderful information was shared, and I thank everybody for putting the information in the chat box. A couple things I wanted to mention. Tonight, we do live after 5 to 6. You can join in. Chastity and I do this every month, and we have so much fun doing it, and it gives you another opportunity to meet chamber members. So sign up for that. Friday at 8:30, Women's Business Council. Roz is one of the co-chairs of that. Always a great event. Another women's event, just a little bit different than this one. We do 3 of them and they're all a little different. And then Prime. Next Friday is about branding in the age of social media. So that kind of goes along with everything we're doing. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anybody on the staff. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you tonight on Live After 5.
Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay healthy. Stay well.
Thank you.